grab some Christmas fabric scraps and let's make a Christmas card. Hello everyone, I'm Caroline and welcome to my home on the hillside here in Wales. I've decided to make, look at this. What's that doing there? That's not a piece of fabric, is it? Throw it out the way. I've decided to make a Christmas card again this week because I love making Christmas cards out of my fabric scraps. So I was wondering what's the best order to do them in because I've got so many I'd like to make. And I thought I'd go for another English paper piecing card this week because I know a lot of you love English paper piecing. Now, first thing I'm going to do is to put my scraps to one side and cut myself some papers so that I can make the little squares that I need. You can measure this, you can draw around a template, you can buy the little squares if you like. So I've got just a piece of paper. I'm using a just thicker paper than normal. It's not a card at all, but it's just slightly thicker paper. Then what I do is put it in my paper cutter, set it to 1 inch. It's a bit wonky, there we go. I always find this bit really fiddly. And then run my cutter down. So this is now 1 inch wide strip, but actually 2 because it's folded. Then I pop them back in long ways, pop that to 1 inch, and across I come. And that is a little inch square template for English paper piecing. So the next thing to do is to cut out some fabrics. Now, I don't know if you remember the maths from this, so I will describe it quickly. I'll write it down on my little piece of paper. This is, put my cutter down there. This is by no means the best way to describe it, but I'll just show you. If I want a square, that's 1 inch by 1 inch, so 1 inch by 1 inch. If I cut my fabric 1 inch by 1 inch and then I try sewing it together, it's just going to fray. So I need to put a little hem on it. That hem is going to be 1/4 of 1 inch. So if I add 1/4 of 1 inch all the way around, then that means that I need to add on 1/4 of 1 inch from here and 1/4 of 1 inch from here. So I add on 1/4 and 1/4 is 1/2, and the same here, 1/4 taller and 1/4 longer on the bottom. So I need to cut my piece 1 inch plus that 1/2 inch, that's 1.5 inches by, same the other way, 1, and my 2/4, which is 1/2. I do the same with cutting my fabric as I do with cutting my paper. First of all, I cut them into 1.5 inch strip, and then I cut them into 1.5 inch squares. I find that a lot less fiddly to do it that way. Now you can, if you want to, as you see me sometimes when I do English paper piecing, I'll just pin this piece of paper to a piece of fabric like that. And then I'll just chop around roughly 1/4 of 1 inch. It's not a quilt. It doesn't need intense quilting. You don't have to worry about the folds being too thick. So you can do it that way. But I thought I'd do it the proper way for a change. Very unlike me. So I cut out all my fabric into 1.5 inch squares. And here it is. And the next decision is which ones am I going to use. Now I want to make a 9 patch. So a 9 patch is what it says. It's 9 patches. So if each of these are a patch, then you'll need 9 of them. Join them together in rows of 3 to make a square. So let's have a look. I could put, let's see what I got. You can put matching ones like this. Let's check I've got enough here of these. How many have I got? I've got 4 of those, and if I got 5, you need, if you're going to do just 2, you'll need 2 colours or 2 fabrics. You'll need 4 of one and 5 of the other. So I can do this. So this is the 5, so it goes in the middle and then out on the corners like that. And then I've got this fabric, so I thought if I put that way, then it sort of looks like the swirls are shooting. It's not very well, but it isn't the best of them. But you see what I mean. You can get the idea. So you can do that. Or you can do a jumble. Let's do a jumble one. See which one's the best. I don't want to put greens together, so I'll put the red there and the green there. And we put a bright red there. And we've got, oh, this green I'll put in the middle. And I can put that spotty one there. Let's have a look. I put that one there. And, oh, stars we can put by the green one. And I'm running out of patterns. Oops. Oh, there was another one we could have put that would have looked better than the other one. But this, I mean, if you're trying to make it look random like I am, is very difficult. I've got one with a bit of check on there, and I put that one there. So you could make that sort of pattern. But I've decided that I'm just going to use, I'll show you, move these out of the way. These two, I think they look lovely together. So the next thing to do is to cover your squares that you bought with your fabrics. So this is a check, and I don't like working with checks because you can see very obviously if the line is off, if they're not quite straight. But I'm going to go for it anyway. Put a pin into place. Take some thread off my giant bobbin that's going to last me forever, I think. And I really don't need that much, do I? I'm terrible. Because I'm usually doing bigger quilts and I want to get things done quickly and they're quite big patches, I tend to get a very long piece of basting cotton. But you really don't need that much. You don't need as much as I've got. So now just fold them over. Now if you're using cotton, just give them a quick rub like that and you'll see the crease stays in them. It's brilliant. You can use other fabrics. If you use other fabrics, then they're not going to crease as easily. You could iron them, I suppose. But then, who wants to increase their ironing load? I know I certainly don't. What am I doing? Going down, then up. Tie a knot in the end of your thread, otherwise it's going to pull back out. And then get to the corners, fold them over, and off you go again. I've made 1.5-inch squares, but I've never actually made inch squares that I can remember. I would have thought I'd remembered because they're very small, but I absolutely love making them. I discovered this while prepping for this project because I've made a few things ahead of time. Otherwise this video will be 3 hours long. And I just think they got a lovely feel to them, a lovely look to them. I don't know what it is. There's something magical about 1-inch squares. So I'm wondering whether to challenge myself to make a 1-inch square quilt. You'll use up a lot of my scraps. What you can do, when you get to your last fold, quite often I find my last fold's a bit wonky. Use this as a very thin finger extension, your needle, and just pop it under like that. Hold it down with your thumb, and then poke your needle through. And then, whoops, let's come out a line a little bit. Just jiggle it about. And you can see now you'll be able to sew without that flap getting in the way. It's not actually the best one I've ever done. Like that. I'll baste that little bit on the end there and snip it off. So that one's fairly in square, isn't it, for me? I'm quite impressed with that. Now I just realised I must have changed my mind because I was going to do red squares and then red spots. So I prepped them up and I haven't done red spots. I've done gold stars or whatever they are. Oh, there we go. Shake things up a little bit. So I've obviously changed my mind again. I like the spots. I have no idea why I went for this. I put a longer pin in, it's easier. I must have put the fabrics together and decided these look better. It's 2 days since I prepped these. I thought, right, let's get everything prepped and then I can do a video this afternoon. And then something came up and I thought, I'll do it next day. And the next day came and something came up. As is life, our life is hectic here at the moment. So I finally got round to doing this. This is Saturday morning I'm doing this. The plan was to do it Thursday. And I failed. I don't mind not having every second that I want available to sew because I find that you can get a bit complacent with it and think, I don't know if I fancy doing sewing now. But when you can't sew, then suddenly you're like, I want to sew, I want to make some patches. So every now and then if I get setbacks, I don't mind. What is it they say? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I certainly find that's the way with sewing. You can see I'm just sewing this. I should hold it nearer, shouldn't I? I've zoomed the camera in a bit, but I think it would be better if I hold my hands up there. Now you can see again, they never seem to sit right, these points. So I use my needle. Let's see if we can do this one a little bit neater than we did the last one. Like that. And I like to pull them in a little bit further than the edge there, the fold. Just makes it easier when it comes to assembling. Also, when you're doing the basting, I like to use a very high contrast thread. I did have some hexies that had been pre-sewn I bought from a shop, and somebody had spent ages matching up exactly the right shade of cotton to go with every fabric, but I find it difficult to find the basting stitches to take them back out. So I like really good, strong contrast like that. Now you're going to need 9 of these because it's a 9 patch. And you remember I said you need 5 of one pattern, 4 of the other. So I have got 1, 2, 3, move that out of the way, 4 of those, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. So the one that you got 5 of, put 1 in the middle, and then you can put your ones of 4 either side like that to form a cross. Ones of 4, that's not really a very good statement, is it? You know what I mean. You're used to me by now. And that is going to be your 9 patch block. Now you can see that is significantly smaller than if I do a 9 patch. I'll do it by the side here. If I do a 9 patch before they've actually been put onto the paper, doesn't matter what it looks like, I'll put them anyhow. I've got lots cut out because I'm going to make quite a few of these. I really enjoy doing it. Can you see the difference in size? It is amazing, and that's because on every one of these blocks you've taken off a ½ inch of length and width. So when you're doing it, don't think, oh no, it's not going to fit on my card. Don't panic, you'll be fine. So the next thing we need to do is to join this 9 patch. I've got a needle ready threaded with a knot in the end. I am a very messy knot maker, but they're usually hidden anyway. I'm going to move these out of the way in case they're taking the focus of the camera. Where can I put them? Put them over there out of the way. And the first thing we're going to do is the bottom row, and I can't remember now. I think it was one of those either side, wasn't it? Like that. Yep, so I'll do the top row. Just do one of the rows. So you want to sew these together. So take 2, put them together, and then underneath there and out the corner. Next, you catch the corner of both patches, like that. And before you get right the way through, just wind this end, not the end that's coming out of the needle, the end that's coming out of the fabric. Wrap it round twice, and then I like to leave my finger in the loop of it, and it's less likely to get tangled, and then let it go, give it a pull, and you've got a nice firm knot there. Again, not that you need anything too firm because this is going on a card. You're not going to have somebody folding it, washing it, tossing and turning in bed. It's just going to be glued to a piece of cardboard. Now you don't have to glue it, I'll show you another way when we get that far. But it's just to say that you really don't need to worry too much about this being very firm sewing. What I like about these, because they're only an inch, they're so quick to sew. And last week I did hexies, and they're a lot more fiddly to sew. Got a lot more awkward angles and things. These are very, very easy. When you get to this bit, make sure you don't sew the folded over bit as well, because your stitch won't be so neat on the other side. And ideally you'd pick up just 2 or 3 threads from each fabric. I'm going a bit chunkier. I can't thread my really fine needles. I have tried. This is a problem with the folds. You tend to catch your thread in it. It was interesting last week. I asked anybody if they'd had experience of silk thread, and I didn't get any answers, so I'm assuming that on that front nobody has used silk thread, proper silk. I don't mean like they call these, they call them embroidery silks, and they used to be silk, but now I think they're cotton. saying that this is a cheap one. So this is, does it say? No, it doesn't even say what it is. Spinning something. No, it doesn't say what it is. I'm assuming they're cotton, or they could have a little bit of acrylic in nowadays. So I've done that. Now I come underneath the little fold again, move it up here again so you can see. And then a little stitch just to hold it in place and snip it off. Progress already, look at that. So the next thing to do is to sew the other one on. Exactly the same way. Did any of you make the card that I did last week? I know a couple of you said you liked the idea. I was wondering if anybody started making the Christmas cards yet. On the one hand, it's only November, but on the other hand, when you think it's just over a month, and if you leave this sort of thing too late, you end up trying to go like the clappers. I don't know if you can hear the rain. I can hear it plop, plop, plopping. And it's quite heavy this morning. We've had really weird weather. Some places in Wales have had snow. We didn't. We did. We did, I tell a lie. We had, I don't know, perhaps an hour of snow, and it wasn't sticking, which was really disappointing. I was looking out of the window. If I look right up on the high ground, I can see the tops of the mountains are covered in, well, they were covered in a little bit of snow for like the day, but then it went. And for me, the compensation for putting up with cold weather is snow. But we're not getting any. They had it down in West Wales, apparently quite deep. Somebody was saying the deepest they were living there for 20 years, and it's the deepest they've ever seen it. So it's quite interesting. I wonder if we're going to get a snowy winter this year. I was chatting to my friend, and she was saying over in America, some animal got a different colour coat. I can't, you know what my memory's like, I can't remember now. But some animal's coat was a different colour, or there was something to do with an animal or a bird's coat, and that predicted bad snow this year. Now that would be lovely. I live in hope. I love building snowmen. I know, I'm a big child. So there we go, our first row. So now we need to set up the second row. It's always best to do this, you can see what you're doing, because you'll end up doing perhaps 2 of the middle row and you won't have the right ones. You've got to unpick them, and unpicking these is not fun. I can promise you that. So now it's just the same again. So these 3 together to make another row. I'll get back to you when I get to the end of this row, because it's going to take a while to do this. So, well, I don't know, how long did that take? Probably about, I don't know, I'll time this row and let you know how long it took when I finished. I would say that took me 5 or 6 minutes. I forgot to turn the timer on. I know. I thought, I'll check. I've got a timer. Over there, I got a monitor, and I can see the seconds and the minutes ticking down on a little clock on the top. I thought, I'll look at that. And then I thought, well, rather than take up all the camera space and the memory space, I'll turn my camera off just while I sew them. And then I didn't have a clock up there, did I? So I'd say 5 or 6 minutes that took me. I need to rethread my needle, and this one, I like to use this thinner needle, but it really is, I can't get the easy thready ones in a thin one. So I'm going to show you, just for those who don't know, how to thread a needle with a needle threader, because when I first got a needle threader, I think I must have been about 12, and I had no idea what to do with it. So I thought, right, so what you must do then is you must put the cotton through this wide bit here. I know, if you do know what you're doing, then you know I'm doing this completely wrong. And I put that through the wide bit there. And then I thought, right, so you must now poke it. This is the needle threader, so this is going to thread the needle. So you just poke that through the hole of the needle and it'll push. It does not do that. What you've got to do is you've got to poke it through the eye of the needle, like that. And that, as you can see, so much easier than cotton, because it's quite stiff. And then poke your cotton through there, which is the most fiddly part of the whole job. And then pull your needle threader back through the needle, and hey presto, your needle's threaded. So I know most of you will know how to do it, but if you don't, if you've never done it, then why would you know how to do it? So there we go, now you know. So I've got one more row to sew. Let's check which way they've got to go. That is like that. So I'll put those two aside. I'll join these together. While I am, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who subscribed to me, whether you're originally from well back when I first started, or whether you're one of my latest subscribers. I hit 6,000 subscribers last week. I was so pleased. So now we're on the way to 7. Not very quickly, but we're going to get there one day. So thank you ever so much. And for every comment, every time you watch a video, every time you give a video a thumbs up or a like, then I really do appreciate that. And it tells YouTube that people are enjoying watching what I do. And then they'll show more people. And then we get more people in the comments giving us ideas and hints and tips. And the more we learn together. And while we're on the subject of me having a channel for so long, I just want to say this, which is completely unrelated to anything sewing. But I like to say to people, do you know your numbers? I was learning to draw as an adult from absolute zero. I couldn't even draw a straight line hardly. A stick man was probably about my limit. And I was learning to draw and documenting it on this channel. And then, out of the blue, I had a TIA, which is a mini stroke. And I was late 50s and wasn't expecting it at all. They took me to the hospital and found out that you have varying levels of cholesterol, from low cholesterol, which is brilliant, medium, high, and as I like to say, stand back, boy, she's going to blow. And guess which one I had? And I had no idea. My cholesterol was through the roof. And I ended up having to be ill before I discovered that. And because of that, I never got back into my drawing. Things don't quite, my hands and brain don't quite coordinate the way they used to. So I do like to say to everybody when I get the chance, I won't argue, but I will say every now and again, perhaps every year or so, in case there are new viewers, if you don't know what your cholesterol is, go and get it checked, because you really don't want to risk your health by not having a cholesterol check. And I know in the UK, I think you can pop into a chemist if you don't want to go and arrange it with the GP. But my children all went to the GP after my TIA. I said to them, go and get yours checked just in case and find out before things get bad. So they all got a test. So I think you can just go to your GP and ask for one, or you can go into the chemist, but I think you've got to pay then. And I know in some countries you'd have to pay anyway. It depends where you live. Anyway, I'm going to get off the subject now. I just wanted to say that because I just would feel negligent if I didn't say to everybody that I meet and everybody I meet on YouTube, just go and check your numbers. Right, I'm on my last one of joining this strip. And then we should have 3 strips. If we haven't, we've only got 2 and I've miscounted, I shall cry. Have you ever done that? You think, there, I finished this project, and then if it's patchwork, you think, oh no, I thought I had the right amount and I got to do another 10 or 12 small patches, or oh no, I thought I'd done 12 large technical patches and I've ended up with 11, so I've got to do another one. And even worse, which has happened to me, is you do another big patch and then you find out that you'd actually done 12 and you'd miscounted, which is really frustrating, because then you've got a spare patch that you don't even want. I'm using this finer cotton. It's a little bit slippery. So it keeps on pulling through the needle, and then I end up with yards of it, and it's very difficult to use. I don't know how long this thread is going to last me. I always call them cottons. Over in the UK, we tend to, well, I know I grew up calling what everybody calls fabric material. So I always talk about material, and I'm trying to change my word to fabric because it's more internationally recognised. Let's get a bit loose there. I'm just going to put a knot in that. And it's the same with this, which I would have called cotton, which I suppose is along the same lines as calling this silk, when it's not. And this isn't cotton. I hope it lasts a while because it just reminds me of my trip to France. And anything that reminds me of travel, I love, because I'm a travel addict. If I could, I'd be constantly traveling. I'd come home, do my laundry, and I'd go back again. One thing I love is walking around an airport with my pull-along case. Oh, I feel so cosmopolitan. My husband says, I'll pull the case. No, you won't. I pull in the case. I love it. I have great fun doing that. I love going on the ferry. I enjoyed going on the Channel Tunnel. They've got a train going under the channel from, I think it goes from Ashford, the Channel Tunnel, over to France. And that was nice. Only once I've done it, and it was really nice because you're sitting in the car and the train is rocking the car because it's going so fast. I found that very relaxing. You could just shut your eyes and enjoy it. But I prefer a ferry, I think. Even though it takes longer, I like seeing the view, looking out the window and seeing all the other ferries and boats and things and looking at the seagulls and the waves. So now you've got your 3, let's move that out of the way, that seems a bit clattery. Now we've got 3 strips, and it's just a matter of joining these 3 strips together. Fold it in half like that. And now you've got a really long seam, but make sure that these seams should join up. If you're worried they're not going to, then you could pin them. But I think you're pretty good on these because they're so small, they're not going to stretch, they're on paper. So just go for it. And you can do what they call fudging when you're doing hand sewing anyway. It's not so forgiving when you're using a sewing machine. But if you're hand sewing, oops, I forgot to do a knot. That'll do. If you're hand sewing, then you can really fudge these things, which just stretch it a little bit. Teeny bit, which is all you'll need. So let's get to that first joint, and I'll show you. We may need like 1 millimetre of fudging, you never know. Be good if we do, and then I can show you what to do. The shorter you have your cotton, the less it's going to keep catching on the corners. So I would recommend using a shorter cotton or thread. You know me now. When I say cotton, I mean this. So how are you doing with your Christmas shopping? Have you made a start? I bought a turkey crown. I was going to get a whole turkey, and I'm thinking, well, we don't really eat that much meat. We try not to eat any meat at all, but I do like my turkey for Christmas. Right, now, if I'll just show you and I'll get back to my turkey. As it is, that meets perfectly, but if it didn't, you can just, whichever one needs to be lifted a bit, if you put your needle in there, you can see you can just get a little bit of lift. Let's see if I can show you again. Put it in there and then put your needle, if you needed to move it up, and you can stretch it a bit like that. But I don't need to, it's perfect. And I think you'll find the same too. On this size patch, you don't get much movement at all. So where was I? I was talking about my turkey. Yes, so I got a turkey crown in the freezer, not the fridge. It certainly wouldn't last if it was in the fridge. I've had it now for about 2 weeks, I think. So that is all sorted. And we don't buy a lot for Christmas. When the children were home, then we tended to buy more and treats and things like that. But if I buy too much sweets, cakes and chocolates, then I know what I'm like. I can eat them. So I'm not getting, well, I'm getting hardly anything in as far as I know. It's different because I know a few people will be buying us bits and pieces. What's going on here? Sorry, I'm confusing myself. There we go. That should go behind there. Back to the subject. I know a few people will get us bits and pieces, so there will be some niceys here. But I want to buy my own as well. And where do you stop? I look sometimes. I like to go down the chocolate aisle for Christmas and think, what am I not going to buy? Even though I would really enjoy it. I'm not going to buy it, so what am I not going to buy? And I pick out my favourite of the whole aisle. But this year, there's just too many things I would not be buying. So I think if I decided to start buying, I'd buy one of these, and I got one of those, and that's not very big. I'll get one of those, and next thing you know, I'd have a house full of chocolate and cakes. So I'm going to be a good girl, not buy any in. What I may do though is get more fruit this year. I love melons, So I might get myself a melon. My favourite melon is, I don't know if you've ever seen them, a Sapo D something. And they're really sweet. I love those. Every time you come to a join, do a little knot. Because it is a little bit, I know I'm going to be stuck to a card. I just can't help it. I always do a knot just in case there's any extra pressure on that join. Just show you finishing that off, which is exactly the same as finishing off any joining, whether it's 1 patches, 3 patches, or 150 patches in a row. And now you can see how important it is to check, because you really don't want that, do you? That doesn't look good. That one goes down there. What I like to do at this point is I'll fold it on top of itself, because like now I've forgotten to tie my knot in my thread. And now I don't have to check again. I know that's where it should be. And then the same thing, join this down here. Now I'm going to jump straight ahead to when I finish this row now, because otherwise we're going to be here forever. So I'll time transport you to the other end of this sewing. And there we got our 9 patch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Isn't that cute? I have heard these called 3 patch too, because they're 3 by 3. Now, I don't understand those terms because it's just not something I've heard of. Do you ever call that a 3 patch? Right. Next thing we need to do is find some card to put this on. I'm just going to clear my bits and pieces off. Now, one thing I fancied was using this. It's A4. If I fold that A4 size, it's going to be a rather large card, but that's not a problem. And then this is going to turn into a gift. So I could put that on there, which I thought was lovely. I like the black against the red and white and gold. But I'm going to show you some alternatives of what we could do. I've got quite a selection of papers here. Let's have a look. We've got this one, which you can see the colours. I think it makes this look dirty rather than making it look good. What's on the back of this one? Again, that's white, so that's not going to work. That goes in the reject pile. We got some blue with snow. I really like that. I think that looks lovely. For some reason, my patch looks a bit skew. I think my camera must be, if it's not perfectly level, it tends to, well, it makes it look even more wonky now, doesn't it? Well, it is square. You have to trust me on that one. So you put it on the snowy one. Actually, that one at the moment is my favourite. Or I got this really pale one now. Too much white on that one. You could put it on something a bit more natural. So I'll put it there. And that looks lovely on there because of the country style of it. You know this is, oh, I'm really liking that. So you can make that into, now with the paper I've got, it's not going to work because I don't have the length to really comfortably put it in the centre. It's going to be coming too close to the edges, I think. But I do like that as a design idea. I got this silver, quite a textured paper. No, I don't like that. We got gingerbread men, and that is just too fussy, isn't it? That doesn't look good at all, I don't think. Let's clear some space here. What's on the back of this? Oh, just plain white. Oh, well, let's have a look what it looks like on plain white. Very uneventful. Now, this is the sort of thing I wouldn't recommend, but I thought we'll have a look at it anyway. Now, you may like that. I think it's a little bit too shocking for that patch. It is like a luminous green. The sort of thing you used to see handwritten reduction prices in supermarkets and things. Got this one, which you could cut off garden girl things. You've got, this is what it would look like with the green there. So I don't think that looks too bad with those colours. But obviously, I'm not going to be able to use that because it's not big enough. I've got some spots. Again, I think that's too busy myself. Got some stripes, which, that's not too bad. I don't think that's too busy. And then finally, oh no, I got 2 here. No, it's the same one. Got this, which I think, again, doesn't look too bad. So this is the one I'm going for. Next, I need to decide how big I want my card. Now, this is card. If you don't have card, you can use a thin paper and glue it to card. That's not a problem. Let's have a look. If I was folding this over, I don't need to know exactly. Then I want to make sure I got enough that it doesn't look squashed. So I think about there. So I'm going to cut on my paper cutter down there. If you're using a paper cutter, make sure it's pushed tight there, and then you know you'll cut a straight line, not a wonky one. So now I can fold this, just the top half there, and see how long I want this to be. Oh, I am really liking that. I think about there. Now, don't worry about, I haven't got an envelope to fit, because you can always make one. So I'm going to cut that about there. I think my cutter, I may regret this, but I think my cutter will do double piece of card. Let's find out. Oh, a bit of a struggle. Yep, it did it. So that's what it's going to look like. But before I do that, you've got the alternative to stick this straight down, but I wanted to do a little bit of something to jazz this up a bit. And to do that, I need to show you what I'm going to do on a separate piece of fabric. Just got this here, it's a bit of calico. I'm just going to get a ruler and I will be sewing up the join here. So we pretend this is a join, okay? I'll show you how I'm going to do this stitch. I'm going to use the embroidery floss or silk that's been broken into 2 pieces. You see there? It's difficult to show you. So I've taken 2 thin, no, there's 4 there. You know what I mean. I've just taken 2 threads out of the 6. So for this stitch, I'm going to show you, because you may not have seen this stitch. Come up and then you go in just that side and out just that side. Pull it through. Then you take it down and around and you go under this one, over that one, and gently pull. You got yourself like a little, well, I don't know, a very tiny knot, I suppose. So then you go up a little bit. Try to keep your knots pretty equally distanced. Mine probably won't be. So from one side to the other side of the line. And you can draw a line on your fabric because the thread should cover that. Then down and under this one, over that one. Pull it through. Bit fiddly when your thread is still long. Can you see you've completely covered the pencil lines? So I'll do that once more. Go up a little bit, in the one side of the line, out the other side of the line, pull it through. Keep your loopy bit down the bottom, as you don't want it getting knotted in any way up the top. And then bring it down to the bottom, so your loops start hanging down the bottom, under, over, and pull it through. Like that. And I think that's a really nice, delicate looking design, but it just shows that you've really put some extra effort in. So now I'm going to get my parcel, come through behind and out to the bottom there, onto one of the joins. And then I'm going to go in the one side. I think I may need a sharper needle. Yep, I'm going to have to change for the sharper needle. So come up a little bit, in the one side, out the other side, with the loop hanging down. Pull it through, and then with loop down again, you go under there, over that one, and then pull it like that. Then put it down again, under and over the line you want to cover, with the loop hanging down, loop hanging down again, under and over. And now I'm going to keep going all the way up to the top of the block. I haven't really embroidered much for years. It's a long time since I did it. But I'm getting back into it now. I tend to do that. I'll get a hobby and then give it up for years and years, and then I think, oh, I'm going to take that back up again now. And what I'm loving is embroidery now is not what it used to be. You've got traditional embroidery, which I love, but you've also got a lot of more modern embroidery. I'm enjoying learning some of those techniques. They're great fun and very therapeutic. When you get to the join in the bottom, when you come to a join, just sew over the top of it as if it doesn't exist. It's a little bit more difficult if you've got very thick fabric there, but I'm not going right the way through anyway, so it's not too much of a problem for me. I'm trying not to go through the paper. I don't think I'm succeeding, but I'm trying not to. What I'll do at this point, I'll just put a little bit of Christmas music on and do a couple more stitches so that you can just look and see how I'm doing it, because for some reason when I first learned this stitch I just couldn't get the hang of it. It was just too close to blanket stitch but not close enough. So I'll just do a couple of stitches close up to the camera and then you can see clearly what I'm doing. So remember, it's side to side over the line you want to cover with the loop down towards you. Then with the loop down towards you, you go under the last loop that last stitch you made, and over the outside one, and pull it through. So I've done up the one side there. Now look how neat I was when I first started, and I'm getting impatient to get to the end to go to the next bit, which isn't really in the ethos of slow stitching, is it, to rush? But these things take a long time to do on camera. So now I'm going to come underneath. Can you see there? I haven't gone right through, just between the two layers over here. And now I'm going to do exactly the same thing, going in this direction. And then I've got to do the same going in both of those directions. Now there are some alternatives which I'll talk to you about while I'm doing this. Let's hold it up nearer the camera. One of them is to just do a running stitch up here. Another one, which is taking your life in your hands, I wouldn't recommend this at all, is to try drawing using a Sharpie or something. I don't know if that would work, and draw some pretend stitches on. I get the feeling you probably ruin your block because the fabric tends to draw out the ink and you'll end up with a very blurry edge. So I wouldn't recommend that. You could do a chain stitch if you wanted to, or you could do a stem stitch. You could even, which is completely different to doing a stitch, you could just, well, it isn't completely different, you could sew on some ribbon. Oops, dropping my needle. So you're still sewing, Oh, you could glue on the ribbon, I suppose. I'm no good at gluing on very fine ribbon because I end up with so much glue on there that I'll end up with more glue on the fabric than on the ribbon. It bulges out. This is fun to do, but I wouldn't recommend you try doing it if you are in a hurry, because you're probably not going to be as neat and even as you could be. Now, you've even got the option to go along marking little dots every quarter of an inch, or not quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch or 16th of an inch, depending on how far apart you want these stitches to be. And then you know they're going to be exactly where the same length all the way up. You're going to look so neat and professional, which is not the look that I've done. I'm not saying it's not the look I was going for, but I tend to be a little bit of an impatient sewer. I tend to not be the neatest sewer in the world, but as long as I'm having fun, I don't mind. I can put up with imperfections. Oops, look at that. Keep getting carried away and putting the loop the wrong way. The loop has always got to be facing you, or facing me when I'm sewing, like that. And that way then you're not going to get it knotted up in the wrong place. Right, I'll get back to you when I finished. Oh, that was a bit tough. I'll get back to you when I finished all the lines. I made a little bit of a mistake and I thought, I don't think it's going to stand out, but now I can really see it badly, so I'm going to fix it. Just missed one. For some reason, I missed a stitch there when I was sewing. I don't know how that happened. So just pop a stitch in there. I know that's not quite the way I told you to do it, but that's the way, when you get to know what you're doing, you can sort of cheat. So there we go, one stitch in there, and that's made a big difference because I could tell. I don't know if you noticed, but straight away it grabbed my eye. There's a gap. Now my stitches are far from even. There's no denying it. They started off nice and small and got bigger as I was getting nearer the end. But I like the effect. It's not just an excuse, although it is a good excuse as well. But I like the effect because it looks like it's been hand sewn. It's got an even more rustic look to it. Next thing to do is take out the paper pieces. Now, last time I did something like this, I did little running stitches all around the edge. I don't want to do that because it's going to clutter it up with this stitch and then a running stitch. For me, it'll just be a bit messy. So I'm going to take out... I can never find things. I can see it. I've been looking everywhere for my pokey thingy, and there it is. Where's the knot? There we go. Go on the back here. I keep forgetting I can come up close now. There, hope I'm not too close. Too close and it goes blurry. So I'm just going to take the cotton out, and take the papers out, but just down the one side. See, sometimes I accidentally sewn through the papers. They'll come out. Make sure they stay as neatly and in place as you can. And now I'm just going to use a little bit of glue. A little bit being the operative word, which I'm not very good at. I'm just going to dab a little bit along the edges. There and there. And I didn't put any paper down again, did I? I'll just put this down. No, we shouldn't really use my best paper. And then a little bit on there. Fold it over. And that saves doing the sewing. So if you don't like doing sewing, it's brilliant. And it also saves you a lot of time. Oops, I think it was a lid of my glue. I like to try new techniques, and it seems to be the thing now. Everybody's using glue. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And it does make some things easier. But it's very difficult to teach an old dog new tricks, and I'm quite a traditionalist. So they're nicely fixed, and now I can go along another row with my pokey thingy. I'd never be without a pokey thingy. You can use it for so many different things, even like trying to get a grip on that paper if it won't come out. You can give yourself a bit of leverage. Oops, still doesn't want to come out. I really did a good job of sewing that one in place. Again, you can leave the papers in, but I'd rather take them out. Just gives it a little bit of a more fabric-y look, less papery look. And then a little bit of glue again. I'm not worrying about doing every single millimetre. I am getting very sticky fingers. The edges there, like that. Check over my nice neat corner again. You can see how quick this is compared to going right around the outside with running stitches. My biggest problem is my tacking. Somehow I seem to have sewn over bits of cotton. I don't know where. I don't know where I could have, but I seem to have, because they're very stiff. I've done a fabulous job. If I wanted to leave that in forever and a day, it would stay there. I always like to do a rather substantial knot at the beginning. You can see them, so you can pull them out easier. Oh, we're nearly finished. Well, nearly finished this bit. If you've done this and you've done the sewing like I just did, then yes, you are substantially nearer the end than the beginning, because that is a marathon task. Congratulations if you decided to do that. It's fun, but I cannot deny it's very time consuming. And then we've just got one more to take out. Look at that. Everything's sticking to me already. Paper out. Oh. Thing is, normally I take these papers out before I do any embroidery on the joins, and I didn't this time, and I'm really suffering for that. I think that's the biggest problem with the papers, is these stitches all run into this place where the paper is, if you see what I mean. There we go. Just one last check before it dries up too much. Yeah, I think that's fine. So now I want to stick it to the front of my card. Bring my card back in, clear some of my rubbish away, and I'm going to put some glue. I'll bring that back in. See, I've already got glue on it anyway. And do the edges. Make sure every edge is done. Ooh, it's very gloopy now. And then, oh no, I've left one in the middle, and now I've gone and glued it into place. Let's see if I can get that out quickly before the glue starts to set or dry or whatever it is that glue stick does. Oh, I get really sticky. Get really sticky. Pull that out. Come on, out you come. I don't want to come out. Come out. No, leave me here. Never. Come on. Okay. There we go. That's the paper out. And then, I don't like using this. I can see the advantage of those little ones that you can buy, because they're like more like a pen, but as I've said before, for me, there's just too much plastic waste with those. Oh, right then. So now I'm going to carefully put this fairly central, as central as I can manage, which is never usually very central, off my card, pulling all the bits off. Like that. Now I'm going to go and wash my fingers. And now this all depends how artistic you are. You've got some options. You can make yourself a bow. Oops. There's my pokey thingy. And I've got a wider ribbon here, and this is wired. So you can put a bigger bow on. It's going to look like that, which is quite splendid. I've got a tartan bow here, which doesn't go, does it? Nope, that's not going on. So look, I did put some bits and pieces over here that we could use. One thing I do love about a two-loop bow, if you want to try it out, you can just take the end off your ribbon, tie one, and then it's so easy to pull them apart again. So that's it. Oh, I'm thinking of going with that. What if I put a big bow and then put that on the front. Think that's a little bit too ostentatious? I don't, I love it. Right, I think I'm going to go with that. We'll make a bow in this first. So I'm going to cut it about that length-ish. And I'm going to get a pipe cleaner. This is my pipe cleaner. It's actually a champagne cooler. I got this from France for €1. I keep all my thingies in it. It's even more difficult to show you anything now I got this zoomed in. Right, so I don't need a lot of this. I'll cut about that much off. So to make yourself a fancy bow, if you got wired ribbon, get yourself a length and then fold the one side over there and the other side over there. So it looks like somebody's collar really, or a scarf around their neck. And then pinch the middle bit like that. Make sure you're central. Pop your pipe clean around, pick your favourite side. That's my favourite side. So on the back, give it a twist. Like that. And then snip it off. Now I'm going to put my glue gun on to warm up when I'm deciding what I'm going to do. The next thing to do is to dovetail the ends of your bow. So fold them together and then cut from the folded edge, from the two open edges, up to the centre like that. And you've got yourself a perfect dovetail. I'm going to do the same this side. Measure that so it's roughly in the same place. Usually takes me 2 or 3 attempts. I think, no, that was really off. I didn't cut very well, did it? Oh, that's pretty good. So I can put that on there and then get my black and white bow and put that on the top. The only thing, it does hide the gift a lot. It looks a bit, you could put Happy Christmas up the top, and I think that looks more simple. Let's cut that off. I think that looks more simple. That looks more sumptuous. I'm going for the smaller, more simple version. Which would you go for? Let me know. I'd love to know. You going to go for ostentatious or are you going to go for simple? And what I am going to do is put these ends together and cut, I think it's that way. Whoops, you can't see me, can you? Cut that way. Put that on there. Yep, that was the right way. Move my scissors so I don't drive you bananas, and I'll move that. Everything's clattering more than ever now. So that is going to be going there, but while my glue gun heats up, I'm going to take my life in my hands. I hate doing this because I'm really not a very neat writer, but I'm going to write, what shall I write on here? Ideally, I'd like 2 very short words because then I know I'm not going to, the less letters, the less mess I can make. I'm going to write Happy Christmas. Here we go. Okay, it's going to be a mess. Happy told you I couldn't write very neatly, didn't I? Happy Christmas. I want to put a little dab of glue on the back of my bow. Doesn't feel like this is hot enough yet. Oh, wait a minute, there's enough. Yep, it's just got enough heat. I can get a little bit of glue out, pop that on there. And I would advise, if you're like me, you don't have neat writing, you can get stencils or you can get something, these stick-on ones, things like that. But I'm going to say, because this makes it sound better, I'm going to say that I've done that because it looks more handmade, okay? That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So you've got this. If you want to now, you could put some dashes or curls or swirly curlicues all the way around the outside of this to make it stand out. But I'm actually liking the simplicity of that. Right, what I am going to do, I think this will look nice. I've got this, which is a corner cutter. And can you see it cuts the corner nicely rounded? If I show you against there. So I'm going to cut both with the corner cutter. If you check out, I've got a link to my Amazon store in the description. And I'll put a link to these. They're brilliant. Look at that. It looks so much more expensive just for doing that, rounding the corners. So that is my card. Now, other than my absolutely awful handwriting, then I love it. Oops, no, that glue wasn't hot enough. Let's get some more. See if it's warmed up enough now. That's better. So what do you think of that Christmas card? Do you like it? Is it the sort of thing you would make? Let me know. I'd love to know. And also, what do you do if you have, like me, very scruffy handwriting, or you just don't like handwriting on a card? What do you do? Do you leave them blank and not put any writing on? What's your system? Please let us know, and then we can all, well, those of us who need to, can then figure out better ways of putting some writing and words on the front of our Christmas cards. I really need some help in that department. If you want to send a picture, if you make one, I'm trying to think now. My email address is myartjourney@aol.com. What I'll do with my very bad Sharpie and this very scruffy piece of paper I have here, so it's all small case, my art journey. I'm going to run out of space. Carry on, don't you? at aol.com. Yeah, we ran out of space. That's an M, okay? It is really, honestly. So it's myartjourney@aol.com. If you want to email me pictures of any cards you make, I would really love to see them. What do you think about starting a Facebook group where I can open it up and then people can just put their cards or any craft they make, any sewing they make, have a chat and get to know people? What do you think? Do you think that would be worth doing? Oh, and before I go, just going to show you something else you can do if you like to put a little bit more craft into your card as well. Oh, I haven't used this for a while. I can't get the lid off. Take that out. There we go. This is supposed to be the applicator, but I'd rather use my finger. Just going to get some of this silver gilding paste. Ooh, it's going to be gloopy on the top. Let's dig down. And then I'm just going to put some, using my finger, around the edge. Let's see if this works any better, because it's so thick and gloopy I can't. It's sticking to my finger. Ah, that's better. Or maybe not. Don't want a lot on there, just a little bit, just to highlight the edges. I just think it adds a little bit of pizzazz. Right, I think this has had it. It's too gloopy. Do my best. So I try to put chewing gum on a card. And I'm going to thicken up the edges so it doesn't look so awkward where some bits are thicker than others. Oh gosh, that's got really thick now. Look at that. Oh no, it's getting worse and worse. Oh dear, dear, dear. Okay. See if we can rub some of it off. No, we can't. Oh dear. But you can see the general idea anyway. If your gilding paste is not gone thick like mine, you'll have to see what the base is with it, and perhaps I can put some water in it and mix it, get it to be a bit runnier. I'll find out. So there we go. One happy Christmas card, or one happy Christmas card. It's supposed to be curls, but still. And lots of splodges of very thick, shiny chewing gum around the outside. So there you have it. One Christmas card. Oh, I think that's got to be the worst bit, isn't it? I can't get it off. It's not going to come back off. So there you have it. One happy Christmas card. And if you've enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And I really would love it if you leave me a comment. And I'll see you all next time. But until then, don't forget, happy crafting and have fun. Bye.